On a morning in June last year, police raided this building on Montreal's West Island. They arrested 8 people who they say were making scam phone calls to elderly people in the US. That same day, they arrested another 15 people across the Montreal area. Prosecutors in the US alleged that they were running an elaborate grandparent scam network that targeted American seniors. Grandparent scams are a big deal. You may have heard of them. They mean real financial loss for vulnerable people. Here's how they work. Typically, a scammer calls their victim pretending to be their grandchild. They say they need money because they're in a tough spot legally. Then, another person calls them, usually pretending to be a police officer. They tell the victim how much money to send, usually around $10,000, and where to send it. These scam networks can be pretty unsophisticated things. Just a few people running a scam ring can make thousands of dollars off of just a few victims. But our reporting has found that in Montreal, these scams are taking place on much larger levels. For one thing, that alleged fraud operation police took down in June last year, the authorities say they scammed American seniors out of $21 million US, about 30 million Canadian dollars. Police allege this group was operating out of call centers throughout the Montreal area. Those people have now been charged with wire fraud in the States. If convicted, some of them could spend up to 40 years in prison. And it's not the only time that a grandparent scam network has been accused of operating on such a scale in Montreal. Police did major raids at call centers here, and here, among other locations in the Montreal area, arresting dozens of people and taking down at least 3 major alleged grandparent scam networks in the past 4 years. So why is Montreal such a hub for this? Well, police say these kinds of scam networks do operate across the country, but in Montreal, there are links between these groups and larger organized crime.
Montréal, ce qu'on peut voir, on a quand même ce type de criminalité-là appartient à un secteur criminel. On voit plus des gens impliqués près de la mafia italienne.
We spoke to victims and combed through court records and found that these kind of scams have a really deep impact on people. They leave seniors feeling vulnerable and violated. A judge in the US who was sentencing one of the people convicted in one Montreal scam said the fraudsters took their victims' peace of mind and made them feel ashamed by taking advantage of their love for their grandchildren. So, how can you protect yourself? You can watch one of the many videos that CBC has done on what to watch out for, but essentially, if you receive a suspicious phone call from somebody claiming to be a family member in an emergency, let them know you're going to call them back. You could also try having a code word with family members to use in situations like this. But experts think fraud cases are underreported for a couple of reasons. One of them is that victims tend to feel ashamed or embarrassed. It can be really helpful to the authorities to report the fraud, however. So make sure if you or a loved one falls victim to one of these scams that you tell the police and report it to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. They track national trends. And don't feel ashamed to come forward. These scammers play on their victims' emotions, but it can do a lot of good and help police track them down if you do report it.